fantasy forecast.
All right, we got a lot of ground. Got a lot of ground to cover. Jason, you got it in you?
Many yards.
You're wearing the baby blues of the team we're going to talk about first.
Well, you know,
the Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions are America's team.
They are?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
They kind of are on Thanksgiving.
Right.
I mean, they're one of those games that are always there. All right, the Raiders go to Detroit to take on the Lions. The Raiders are favored by a point in this game. I really like Matt Stafford in this game. He's my start of the week. He's Mike's start of the week as well because Mike cheated and used mine. And I like Derek Carr too. I think this game, Vegas has it at 48.5 points. I think it's going to be up there. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. Jason just talked about Crabtree. So here's something interesting about the Lions, and we know this from watching Joique Bell or Amir Abdullah or Zach Sinner or whoever is running into the pile for the Lions. They run the highest percentage of pass plays in the NFL, and that hasn't translated to great production, but in this game I think it really will.
Well, not only that, but you have a tool in Eric Ebron in the passing game that is going up against a defense that has not at all this year figured out how to guard the tight end. They've only had 2 decent games against the tight end, and both of those were actually because of the tight end, not because of their defense. Their defense, if you watched the game, gave up play after play to them. It just didn't get capitalized. But the Lions use Eric Ebron. He had 8 targets last game. If he gets 8 targets against Oakland, he's going to get a touchdown. He's going to have 60 yards and a good baseline for you. So he is Mike's start of the week. I love Ebron this week. I mean, we always say play the guy against Oakland, and Ebron is a talented first-round NFL draft pick. So I like him a lot. What about the Lions' running game? Is there anything? Can they get anything going here with, you know?
Probably not.
Yeah, I know.
Probably not.
It's a trap question.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't start any of them with any semblance of joy or happiness. If I was in a 16-team league, I'd start Joique Bell.
Yeah,
that's what it would be. And hey, on the other side of the ball, Latavius Murray, you and I both have him as our number 10 running back this week, and RB1. Very confident that Murray will get you a kind of a high floor amount of points. And so this game, you know, both defenses struggle quite a bit. Run defenses both have been pretty bad. Both pass defenses have been pretty bad. But the Raiders are 31st against the pass, which is why we like Stafford quite a bit. You're starting Carr.
Yeah, starting Carr.
You're sending him in.
We're sitting in the car. He's been very reliable lately. He's been able to do it against good defenses, bad defenses. So I think he is a relatively safe play. I don't expect him to have one of his monster games. There's guys I like ahead of him, but should have a good game in what could be a high-scoring affair here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you have Golden Tate ranked very high compared to how he's performed this season. I don't mind that at all. I mentioned earlier in the week that I liked him, but it's reflected more in your rankings. You have him as the number 19 this week.
There you go, a low-end wide receiver, too. His target numbers this year have really been very, very good.
So what's happening with him?
Well,
why is he not performing? Because he hasn't had those boom games, and he hasn't had the yards after the catch that got him, you know, where he was last year. He was very reliable last year.
The yards after the catch are a big deal, which we actually saw this last game. We saw him bust off really late a longer run. He's been getting a lot of really, really short targets. So his yards per catch this year have just been really tiny. I mean, he's been basically about under 10, whereas you would normally assume a guy like Golden Tate would be getting in the 12 range of his yards per catch, and that's because of the yards after catch. He plays better at home, so I expect being home against Oakland, he can break off a couple runs. You know, he's going to have 5 catches. If he breaks something off, he's definitely going to be in the wide receiver 2 range.
All right, the New York Jets travel to Houston to take on the Texans. In this game, what are you expecting to see from the quarterbacks? Because we know that TJ Yates is starting this game, and so I think that makes the Jets obviously a very viable defensive play.
Absolutely. I don't see anything that the Houston Texans can do offensively to win this game. I realize they are tied for the division lead. Congratulations, all you Texans fans. And I think they have a legitimate chance of getting into the playoffs this year. But I don't give them a legitimate chance to win this game. And there's only a 2.5-point favorite to the Jets. But I just don't see TJ Yates getting the job done. Alfred Blue, Chris Polk, and your number 1 running back of the week.
Come on.
You love Grimes.
No, I don't love Grimes.
You're getting grimy.
No, I'm not.
No.
I don't love Grimes at all.
If you're listening, please
That was a joke.
Do not
yeah,
play
don't,
Grimes.
Yeah, don't start Grimes over AP or whatever happens when I mention a player.
Yeah, I think you just point out that you think Grimes is the better of the three backs.
I just think Grimes has been more efficient. The stats tell me he's been the better of the three backs, and if Alfred Blue can't – this is the number one rushing D.
Right.
Okay? The Jets are the number one against the run, and nobody can run in Houston anyway, so stay away from any running backs. Unlike what you said on the radio yesterday when you went on the game, I have – no problem with Hopkins in this game whatsoever. He will be heavily targeted. He makes catches in traffic. He makes ridiculous catches. He gets ridiculous separation. I have no problem starting Hopkins whatsoever. They'll be down in this game, and they'll be slinging it around. He's the only pass catcher I want to start on Houston, but no problem with Hopkins.
Well, now let's be clear. I don't have a problem starting Hopkins.
You said yesterday that you would consider – we have a huge disparity in our rankings with Hopkins. You have him as a 2.
Exactly.
And you said that you would sit him.
No.
If somebody had a really deep roster and other guys. Because
so
right
guys,
now,
I said
now you would play Mike Evans.
I would play
You'd
Mike
play
Evans
Eric
over
Decker right now.
Right now, yeah, I would play Mike Evans and Eric Decker over DeAndre Hopkins.
And that is insane.
But here's why it's not insane.
Clinically.
Here's why it's not insane. It's not insane because I'm not saying to play Andre Johnson or someone that's not good. We're talking about Mike Evans and Eric Decker.
Do you want an
have
Eric
been
Decker,
fantastic.
DeAndre Hopkins water bet?
No, I've got him as my 15th wide receiver.
And you have Decker at 6.
I will give you this. You give me that Hopkins finishes above Mike Evans and Eric Decker, then I'll take that water bet.
The bet is I know he'll finish ahead of Decker.
But not Mike Evans? Because you were saying I was clinically crazy to start Mike Evans over DeAndre
Well, those
Hopkins.
you have close in the rankings. I'm not going to put it past Evans to have a boom game with Hopkins facing a good defense.
Yeah, so here's the point. Foot Clan, you're listening. Here's the reality of DeAndre Hopkins.
He's
going
amazing. He's the best.
He is amazing. He is going to get a ton of targets, but they're going to be coming from TJ Yates, which isn't necessarily that much worse than Hoyer anyways.
How is it worse? He was way better with Yates last week. He did nothing before Yates came in. Yates fired it to him all the game long.
I'm conceding that, but
he's my number 3 this week, Foot Clan.
Wait a minute. You've got
DeAndre Hopkins is number 3 for me.
Against Darrelle Revis, you think he's going to be the 3rd best wide receiver?
Okay, here's a bet for you. Top 10. You have him at 15.
I will take that.
All right.
Absolutely.
Water bet.
I'm glad we found some common ground on the bet and none in real life.
Yeah, but I just want to be clear because I don't want people sitting DeAndre Hopkins in their league thinking that's what I'm preaching here, because I am not. You would have to have, put it this way, if you'd have to have 3 top 12 wide receivers to sit DeAndre Hopkins, who I've got at 15.
That's fine. I got you.
And if you got that, then do it.
All right. Other side of the ball, Marshall and Decker. The big story with Marshall and Decker this year that people need to know, and they've known if you own them, is they are who catches the touchdowns for the New York Jets. The Jets are the highest percentage of their touchdowns, their passing touchdowns, go to wide receivers. They don't have a tight end that gets involved. They don't really have running backs that get involved. 88% of their passing touchdowns go to wide receivers. And so Marshall and Decker, they've been putting up those numbers. Decker scores. Marshall scores in almost every game. I don't know if there's been a game this year that one of them haven't scored.
Yeah, I don't think there has been. Decker has only 2 games the whole year that he hasn't found the end zone, and one of those games he didn't play. So that's fair that he didn't get in. So he's got 7 touchdowns on the year. He's just a great red zone option. He's one of these guys that week in, week out is a great performer. He's right now the 19th wide receiver out there, and he's really consistent. He is not a guy that's going to boom and go off for 28. He just doesn't have that kind of target, that kind of talent. But he is a guy that's going to catch 5-6 balls for 60, 70 yards, and more often than not, he's getting in the end zone and getting a touchdown.
Okay.
I like both
I want to move on, but I need to ask you this first. Chris Ivory, the numbers say the Texans are the 25th best run defense, but the Texans in the last 2 weeks have only given up 6 points in each game, and they're at home. What's your confidence level with Ivory? He bounced back. He gave you a little bit of something last game, 5 yards of carry. Mangold was back. You're starting Ivory, but what do you have him rated as?
Ivory, to me, I'm a little bit more worried about him. I have him as a high-level RB2. So he's
just outside the top 12.
Just outside the top 12 for me, because I do agree. Houston Texans' run D has been far improved from what we saw earlier in the year. We can't look at them like a bad defense anymore.
All right, let's move on to the Colts They go to Atlanta to face the Falcons. The Falcons have been struggling. There's a little bit of a sense that they may be a mirage based on the fact that their first few wins were all fourth-quarter comebacks, and they haven't been able to perform on offense lately. They are favored by 6 in this game against the Colts with Matt Hasselbeck. And I'm going to tell you right now, This is my
Andy's almost upset of the week.
Good old Matt Hasselbeck.
If there's one thing the Colts do with Hasselbeck is they can play a conservative, disciplined offensive football. They're not going to limit Frank Gore anymore, and the weapons are still there. And I just don't have a lot of confidence in the Falcons at a minimum to cover this spread of 6 points. So if the Colts can do what they do, be efficient, Hasselbeck looked fine, I think they can win this game against the Falcons. And they're in a division fight, believe it or not, at 4-5.
Yeah.
Against Houston and now Jacksonville.
They are. I actually like that pick. I think that the Atlanta Falcons are a heavy mirage. So their offense has been struggling too, I think, the Atlanta. So do you think that this game is one that becomes high scoring? Because a couple weeks ago we would have said, Atlanta and the Colts, this is going to be a high scoring affair.
No, I think this is actually going to be a lower scoring game.
Yeah, Vegas has it at 47.5, which is on the slightly higher end. I would bet the under on that personally. Yep. What about Frank Gore?
I think Frank Gore is solid, but we'll see a little bit more attention this week. They know they're going to have to, when I say they, I mean Atlanta is going to have to focus on Gore and put the ball into Hasselbeck's hands and make him make plays on the outside. And so Gore, I think, has an okay game. He has a Jonathan Stewart type of game. He's going to get the quantity, maybe not the efficiency you want, but I'm fine with Gore. Gore's a starter this week. I don't remember where I have him in my rankings. I have him at 12. You have him at 13.
Yeah,
so we both think the same thing.
Low RB1, high RB2. He's going up against the Falcons who, when it comes to their run D, I don't know what to make of them. Earlier in the year, they were atrocious. They don't give up that many yards. They had a stretch of 4 games where they let 8 running back touchdowns in 4 games on the ground. They were just porous, but now they've got 3 in a row without any touchdowns scored on the ground. So you got Frank Gore coming in. He's going to get the ball a lot, which is why I really like him as a play. You're not going to get a goose egg from Frank Gore unless he gets injured. So I like playing him, and I think he gets in. I think he gets a touchdown this week.
Now, I do start Matt Ryan this week, and I'm starting him in a couple leagues as a streamer. I picked him up off waiver wire. The Colts defense is 22nd against the run, 28th against the pass. We're taking the under, but I think Ryan can be efficient enough. This offense, what I'm really curious to see is if Hankerson returns. I know Hankerson's not, he's not an amazing player, but he does help the offense because Roddy White has not been dependable or useful, really, is the word. Yeah. And Julio needs somebody to help him out on the offensive side of the ball. So having Hankerson get open, we like Tammy a little bit as a streamer this week. I think Matt Ryan can get it done. I'm talking 250 and 2.
I would say 250 and 2 is exactly what he's going to have, and that's probably that's okay if you're a streamer. If you're looking to stream guys, you want over 200 and you want 2 touchdowns. So I'm fine with that, but I don't expect him to be able to have one of those big games. I don't see the possibility of a 303 for him. So
all right. Before we talk Buccaneers and Eagles, let me ask you one more question about this game. How much does the Hasselbeck effect, or how much does Hasselbeck being in there affect Hilton?
I like calling it the Hasselbeck effect.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. Hilton actually got plenty of targets when Hasselbeck was in, and Hilton was a little bit limp or lame, as you want to correct me in saying, when he was playing with Hasselbeck before. So I actually don't think it's going to have that big an effect on T.Y. Hilton. I have confidence in Hilton.
Okay. Let me see where we have Hilton out of curiosity this week in our rankings on thefantasyfootballers.com. We have Hilton as a wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about the Buccaneers at the Eagles. This one was, believe it or not, really close to being my almost upset of the week.
The Buccaneers at the Eagles?
Yeah.
Is that because of Sanchez?
That is because the Eagles, their offense is not going to be special. Ryan Mathews is out. Mark Sanchez is in. And, the reason it's not that pick is because they're going to win this game. and they're going to win it with their defense because they're
Right.
going to stop Jameis Winston and that offense. Now, that being said, Mike Evans, 53 targets over the last 3 weeks. And he must start.
An absolute must start. You want to know what he's going to do?
I wish Dorial Green-Beckham got 53 targets.
In your defense, Green Beckham looked good going up for passes, making room, catching hard passes. So, you know who we didn't talk about real quick, going back to that game last night? Allen Robinson is good. I mean,
Yeah, he's
we've
very
been saying
good.
that for a long time, but he made some catches that were like, how did he hold on to the ball? So,
And I almost had a, he is what I thought he is speech for Hearns, but I'm going to give him a break because guys have bad games every once in a while.
yeah. Yeah, so getting back to the Eagles and Buccaneers, I think that the Eagles are going to be able to get it done at home. As far as offensively, fantasy-wise, I would expect with Ryan Mathews out, DeMarco Murray is going to just eat volume-wise. He, to me, is an extremely safe play with Mathews out. Murray should get red zone opportunities and plenty of yards. Sproles gets a slight bump up. If you're in a full-point PPR and you are desperate, maybe play him. But for the most part, I see some people overreacting on Sproles. I do think it helps him, but he's been so low. He's been irrelevant.
He's a sleeper guy. No team in the NFL has more running back receptions, like percentage of their receptions go to the running back than the Eagles do. 34% of their receptions go to running backs. And so that naturally benefits Sproles because Sproles is going to spell Murray. And so if Sanchez is dumping the ball off, I think both of those guys in PPR leagues, half-point PPR leagues, are okay plays.
So I look at this game, and I think that most every player out there, the Foot Clan listeners, they know what to do with Mike Evans. You start him. They know what to do with DeMarco Murray. You start him. Their question is going to come on two different guys, one of which is a little bit easier. But the real question is Jordan Mathews. What do they do with Jordan Mathews? Do you start Jordan Matthews?
You can flex Jordan Mathews, and if you have the luxury, you can hold him and just see what this is with Sanchez. He is not worth starting, actually. And now that I think about it, I just don't want to. I don't really want to.
Yeah. Well, he was a favorite target of Sanchez when
Last
Sanchez
year,
was in
yeah.
last year. So
That's fine.
I think you're right in the beginning. I think he's a flex play, but if you've got the luxury to sit him, that would be nice to see.
I mean,
what
we can't forget the Buccaneers are the top half defense. They're number 10 against the pass, number 12 against the run. They're not pushovers.
I do think this game is more defensive than offensive, but the Eagles are going to score a couple times at home. I expect them to have 2 or maybe 3 touchdowns. So Doug Martin, that's the other question.
You start Doug Martin.
Okay.
You start Doug Martin, but you're not excited about Doug Martin. The one thing that's interesting about the Buccaneers is they have the highest percentage of their touchdowns in the league go to running backs. Okay, they have 30% of their passing touchdowns go to running backs, which is the highest in the league. So Martin, Sims, we'll see if one of them can get one of those.